In OBS, okay. It is too bright, is it? Hello, 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 hello. Hello folks, I'm going to do a tech check to make sure that I'm audible and visible, so you can see me and hear me. I'm just going to see if the audio and video are working fine. Please do type in on chat that audio and video are good. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Can you all see me and hear me? Please type in saying you can see me and hear me. We'll all whine about the paper together. Fine, so please tell me saying audio and video are good. Oh, audio and video are good. So all great. I think when people are saying all great, they mean audio and video are great, not the paper. Fine, so I'm going to dive in. Atrocious paper. I mean, I usually I come back and say paper was tough, paper was nice, paper was juicy, paper was easy. For the first time in a long time, maybe 10 years, I came back saying paper was boring, fine, sinfully boring. Fine, so it was boring across sections. It was it had too many drab questions. It had too many questions which had no elegance in them, no juice in them, no nothing that made you sit up with wonder. And so in verbal was actually a smidgen easier than last year. The passages were fine. The choices did not have ambiguity. The correct choice popped out, but each choice was 4 sentences long. And 4 lines long. It was like one long thing. What is the main idea of the passage? It was 4 lines long. It was almost like an entire summary of the passage written. So whoever was creating the choices wanted to have very clear-cut, long answer choices without taking anything to chance, eliminating something. So it was like some amateur creating the paper. There was absolutely no elegance in the paper. Every time we guys create mocks, we look at mocks and we go, look, these kind of questions, look, there's nothing in it. There's no maza nahi aa raha hai, there's no juice nahi hai. If you're doing 22 questions in quant, there can be 5, 6 like this, but for love of God, don't have 16, 17 like this. Yeah, give me some juicy questions is what I'll tell. It was almost felt like a bunch of amateurs had a go at it. Nobody had reviewed. There was nothing wrong as much as it not being appropriate, it not being, there's no fun in it. There's no fun in it. You come out of CAD thinking, yes, this passage was fun, these questions were interesting, there was something challenging, kuch to hatke tha, I had to crack this to get that. Nothing. There was nothing of that kind. Definitely not in verbal. LRDI was tougher than last year. 2024 was the anomaly. Similar to 2023 levels. You can peg it at 23, 22, 21 levels. Tougher than 24. So every cutoff in LRDI will be 10 marks lesser, or 10 or 12 marks lesser, or correspondingly lesser for 98, 99 percentile, 10, 12 marks lesser than whatever was there last year. That was an easy thing to assess from the paper. I don't know which way verbal and quant will go vis-a-vis the previous years, or you can guesstimate, but LRDA was the most easy decision, way tougher than last year, similar to 23, 22, 21 levels. It had decent questions, but I had some grievances about font size and detail, and the graphs were not clear. The sentences were not well written. So it was not challenging. It was not challenging because the questions were intriguing. It was a pain in the neck because the questions were slightly ill-conceived, not clearly explained, not clearly articulated across the 3 sections. So it was like a very amateur slapdash job of creating the content. And so there is there's nothing in this that we can go and contest. And in typical style of all institutes of authority, they'll probably say, look, all questions were right, what are you whining about? And so there is some magical element in competitive exams beyond the number of questions being present and being correct and technically sound. There's got to be something that separates the wheat from the chaff, and that was not there at all in all 3 sections. In verbal, some of the questions were straightforward and easy. The wrong answers were elaborately made wrong. And when I discussed with Jatin was almost like maybe they called in AI to make some of the choices tougher. Every time you ask AI to make some of the choices something tougher, it makes it more verbose. And it thinks what can be described in 10 words, if it can stick in 16, it becomes complicated. It does become complicated, but it becomes messily, inelegantly, gracelessly complicated, which is what this entire paper was. Anyway, enough of the whining part. But there was in quant, going to quant was again, nothing was super exciting. Permutation probability questions usually are fun. Nothing. 5 breads, 4 sandwiches, 6 sauces, 2 out of 5 toppings, or whatever. And then you do 6 into 5 into 4 into 5 C2, and you've got the answer. And there's nothing that calls out to, hey, what am I thinking? Is there something wrong here? Is there something exciting here? Nothing. Right? So, lots and lots of arithmetic questions, but all without any nuance to them. There is a cost price, it goes up by, marked up by this much. Instead of 12 goods, you sell 13 goods, so give 1 for free, and then you make this profit, find that. There was one ratio question which actually made me want to hit the monitor. You said 2 quantities, the 2 classrooms, boys and girls, if 21 boys, 21 2 students in maths and science, 21 students from maths go to science, the ratio is 9:8. And then there are 3x students and 8x students get added to maths and science. Now the ratio becomes 5:4. How many new students were added? Nothing. Just compute, solve, cross, multiply, divide, and you will get the answer. But it's painfully time consuming. I don't know why they have done it. I don't know what they're trying to get. Absolutely, utterly bereft of nuance and elegance and that X factor which is there. If it had been a 2-IM mock, I'd have probably looked at quant and told my team, dudes, these questions are fine. There's nothing wrong with them. But kick out half of them and kick out 11 questions of your choice. Give me 11 beautiful questions. We cannot be seen in the outside world as presenters of this 22 questions in a mock. Half of them are fine. Some half, I don't care. But they cannot carry the weight of the whole paper. What I would have probably told my team. Simple interest question, compound interest question, nothing. Bakwas. Give some this, find simple interest, with simple interest find rate of interest and compound it for 2 years semi-annually, and then what is the compound net interest earned? Nothing. You have to do 1.075 whole power 4 multiplied by some number, subtract the principal, get the amount. But it's a pain. There is nothing in this except punching into the calculator in that horrible interface and getting the answer. And this is, I don't know what they are testing in this, but hey, that is where we are. Right? So in terms of numbers, I'm just going to do, I know there are quite a few with some questions sitting here. Lovely. I'll come back to these questions. I just want to share these thoughts. We'll finish that, and then we'll come back and look at some of the Q&A. And this first themes, these numbers are similar to 24 and 23, not wildly apart. I thought verbal was a smidgen easier than last year. Smidgen. By smidgen, I mean 1 mark more for like. And so, taken away from the fact that you would reach the end of verbal cursing somebody. And so, because it's boring. And the choices were utterly bereft of nuance. And so, it was more of a bludgeon of a paper than scalpel of a paper. And so, like, to give cricket parallels, it was like watching Gary Kirsten bat and score 150 runs. I'm sure you guys don't know who Gary Kirsten is. Google it. And so, nice, the runs get added, but you would rather watch paint dry. And so this was like that. And so the big difference is going to be in LRDI vis-a-vis 2024. This was significantly tougher than 2024, but probably not unusually tough vis-a-vis 23, 22, 21 numbers. And so 1 set correct will take you to 90th percentile. So 90th percentile is pegged at 14, 15 marks. So 5 question set correct should take you to 90th percentile. 2 correct, you get 29, 30 mark, you're at 99.4, 99.3, which is how it has been for a few years, except last year. In hindsight, I think the last year format was better. The data presentation was vague. It left you with an uncomfortable feeling. Even in LRDA, there were a couple of sets that were annoyingly tough, not beautifully tough. Right? I don't know if you guys can grab onto the crux of what I'm trying to say. My vocabulary is insufficient. And I'm trying to say there is an intangible beauty quality to questions in LRDI and Quant and verbal, and that was utterly absent this year. And so it drained me completely. I felt like, look, I don't care what happens in this paper. I don't know what they're looking for. But LRDI was definitely tougher than last year, significantly tougher than last year. So to utterly crack 99.5 is utterly crack it. I think there will be 95 marks totally. LRDI, one set right takes you to 98th percentile, two sets right flirts with 99.5 percentile. That's my gut feel for LRDI. Quant was because it was super solvable. Some of these speed merchants who can just do a plus d, a plus 2d, a plus 3d, multiply, divide, plug n into n plus 1 into 2, n plus 1 by 6, find the value, plug another thing, find the value, see which is greater, which is later, find the minimum, cross multiply, simplify, divide, multiply, ratios. Do that to hell. Those guys were very comfortable doing that without looking for, hey, is there a juicy method, is there a nice thing? They would have been very comfortable with this paper. So it was a bludgeon of a paper. So I think cutoff wise, not going to be wildly different to 2024 or 22 or 21. So these two are going to be similar to last year. This is going to be significantly lower. So I think 90th percentile overall, 53, 54 marks, 52, 53 marks should be fine. 99th percentile, 85 marks should be the benchmark. 99.5, just like the juicy cutoff, will be a 95, 96 mark. 99.9 is a very minuscule number, very small sample size. That's where that will be. So this is my gut feel for the paper. Obvious caveats. Look, this is my opinion after having spoken to 4 guys who I think are smart, and this has no credibility at all in any forms apart from setting a tone for some discussion like this. Right? So sometimes we get comfortable sticking a number in and then comparing with last year, this year, and then having a thing. This has no sanctity at all anywhere. This has no sanctity after the numbers come. If one of you guys says, oh, you said 41, but I got 99.9 with 37 marks, I'll be like, good for you, bye. And so there is nothing here that has any value beyond setting one framework to have a discussion. And sometimes we can have a plain screen and discuss things. It is nice to have some table, notional table like this, and have a discussion on it. Right? A little bit deeper into each section. Verbal passages were 3-letter adjectives. You are supposed to stay away from them, but dry is the one word that pops out. And so the passages were actually fun. The passages I had, the passages were readable, but the choices wanted to make you run away from the place. Not because they were difficult or ambiguous, but they were lengthy and irrelevant. Very often 2 choices just kick themselves out. The one passage, one of the choices talked about patriotism, and patriotism was barely mentioned. It was mentioned as example of a trait. So you can just look at it and go to, that has nothing to do with my passage, kick it out. So there were so many things that were easily kick-outable, 2 out of them. And then the other 2 were long-winded, and sometimes it was appropriate, sometimes both seemed dicey. There was one particular question where I said, which of the 4 words reference to this or relate to this passage? 4 words combos were given, and sort of stuff like judgment, ethics, insanity, and medicine. Words like these. Right? So I thought 2 choices kicked themselves out. The third one was also easy to eliminate. The 4th one was the right one, and the right one left a lot to be decided. And this passage had nothing to do with those 4 words. It had even less to do with the other 3 sets of 4 words. So it was an easy question to mark as an answer. It's impossible that one of the other 3 is the answer, because the other 3 were ridiculous. But these 4 were relevant. But it said judgment. If it had even said judiciary, I would have liked it. If it said law, I would have liked it. It's not judgment. This paper had nothing to do with, judgment. And so paper was goddamn amateurish. And so there was a lack of finesse and accuracy. And even if we create questions and then we fine tune the language of it over and over again, we don't want to embarrass ourselves. This paper is utterly embarrassing. If any one of us guys had looked at it and would have said, look, yaar tum theek karke lao, ye utna acha nahi hai. Somebody who's setting the paper should have said, dude, These papers are, you've ticked all boxes. So many topics, so many questions from each topic, this time pressure, this combination, this many MCQ, this many theta. I cannot put my finger on saying there's something wrong with this. Every box में तुमने सब tick कर दिया. But इसमें magic missing है. You please go come back with it, or if you can't do it, tell me, I'll do it. Is what exactly any one of us into IM or IMS would have told. Somebody would come up with this paper. Because the choices were not wrong. They were definitely not correct. And so that happened too frequently. So not challenging, but ridiculously long choices. And so they were artificially padded. And so I didn't like this paper at all. I think that much is obvious. LRDI was typical. There was one set which was pure DI, raw, one chart, just stick in, get the numbers, figure it out, and find the correct answers to. So that was there. All the benchmarks are going to be closer to 23 numbers, very much like 2023, 22, 21, and not like 2024. So nothing unusual. I personally messed this up. The pure DI set should have been my go-to territory. I didn't go to there. Hence, I didn't go there. I tried something else. I got very tired, very cranky in between mid-stride. That didn't work for me. Something went wrong with my tech and systems. That annoyed me a little bit. I lost my my cool. Not cool, but I'm not angry or livid with anybody. But I lost my flow in this. It didn't hang in there enough. It's almost like, look, I can't be asked. I didn't give up. I hung in there, but it would have been far better. On another day, I might have done much better. Anyway, enough about whining about that. But there was nothing unusual in the LRDI section. It was tough, typically tough, as typical referencing to 23, 22, 21, not 2024. Right? Quant arithmetic is king. Lots and lots of questions from percentages, profit and loss. Some from APGP, but arithmetic progression linkable to this. More than 2 or more questions from simple interest, compound interest. Questions from ratios, mark price and discount. Questions from speed, time, distance, and average speed and time. I had one question which is like 4 different parts. This is broken into. The speeds are in arithmetic progression. The time taken are in arithmetic progression. Overall distance is this much. Overall time taken is this much. Find what was covered in the 4th thing. So there's nothing juicy in this question. The distances are given in kilometers. Speed is given in meters per minute. Times are given in minutes. Be a little careful about the math. But it's not like you can think about the first segment and last segment, put it together, and then something pops up. Nothing pops up. You have to look at it and do A plus D, A plus 2D, A plus 3, multiply, divide, find. It's an annoying little paper with numbers that were made deliberately cranky and difficult for no good reason. And so lots and lots of questions there. And so I've written this in frustration. I'm not saying first principles. I'm not saying first principles are not useful. First principles are always sound, knowing fundas and that. But solving brute force stamina counted for more than extraordinary conceptual strength. Even in geometry, you are doing simple Pythagoras theorem and doing this and finding root 7 and root 14 and solving, rather than saying, hey, is this question, can this diagram be looked at differently? And so it was a solve, multiply, divide, brute force your way to an answer type of paper. Maybe 1 or 2 questions had something elegant to them. Everything else was, look, take a bludgeon, keep solving. So the guys who take an R.D. Sharma book and say, today I'll do 200 questions from quadratic equations. And progressively they'll keep getting difficult, not because there's something challenging, but they'll give you 1 by alpha plus 1 by beta as 5 root 3, 5 alpha cube plus beta cube. And it's a pain. And then they'll give you alpha beta as something. So it's the answer will go into root 3 and some number, and you'll keep chasing the computational part of it to build your brain muscle and grit. But there's nothing to it, nothing to the question. Lots and lots of questions like that. Not one that you will describe beautiful, but lots that were brute forcing. This I've written in frustration. Right? So, boring exam. Like it had hastily put together. There's nothing here that I've not already said. What are the takeaways, fine. So this is important. This stuff is important. Those of you who have had an iffy experience of it, it ain't over till the fat lady sings. We've been surprised very often by scores and marks and percentiles. So you may think that you'll end up with a 65 that's neither here nor there, but you might end up with a 77, and that could be 98 percentile because this year was a little weird, and doors can open. Fine. So don't lose hope and be harsh on yourself. Don't jump in and say MBA nahi hoga, I'm 2026 ko, let me focus. All good, but there's still XAT. Focus on that. Start preparing for the next exam. And so don't throw in the towel on this cycle. So very important. On the day of the exam, everything seems a little magnified, and because you can see all the adjectives I'm using. And I'm not taking this with much at stake, and I'm nasty angry about this paper. And so today everything feels all heated up, and we're all excitable and angry and down and irritated and angry again. And so don't let that be a measure of how you can respond to a paper or an exam journey. Make sure you turn up and do the complete hustle for XAT. If this doesn't fall in place, XAT should. So give that a go. Takeaways in terms of a preparation cycle. Reading is super important. And so this time they're definitely saying I want people with stamina, both in verbal and in quant, and probably in LRDI as well. So they're saying, look, if I give you equation after equation after equation to solve, you solve one equation, get some value, plug it into the next equation, and then get another value. And here you're solving 798 plus 3k by 484 plus 8k equal to 5 by 4. You cross multiply, you subtract, you plug in a calculator if you must, you do without it if you can navigate that. Find x, then find k, then substitute, and finally get to one answer. If you hang in there long enough, I want to know whether you have the resilience in you to keep doing step 1, step 2, knowing fully well that there are 4 more nicely rigorous mechanical steps ahead of you till you get to the answer. There is no magic easy method, but do you have the temperamental strength to hang in there, showcase your resilience and stamina to get to the answer? So this was, in some ways, it was testing that. So brain muscle for conceptual clarity and soundness is important. Brain muscle for hanging in there and merrily brute forcing is also important. Right? So I seem to have lost that a little bit. So I think I was more annoyed with it. I'm usually happy if there are conceptually challenging but computationally easy bunch of questions in both LRDI and Quant. Likewise in verbal, for the parallel for that. Something juicy in the main idea rather than one giant summary. And so this was paper utterly designed to irritate me. And so that is my weakness. I need to work on becoming better at the brute force part of handling verbal LRDI and Quant. LRDI I get annoyed if finally after doing there are still 3 possibilities. And so I should either leave those questions or hang in there and put those 3 possibilities. I keep hoping that there'll be only one, and then keep looking to eliminate the other. That doesn't work. So they want us to brute force and find 2 or 3 possibilities, and I did not kind of gravitate towards that. In the exam, I did not. I have a they're looking for people who can hang in there, engage with challenging content, with computational rigor and solving rigor for long stretches of time. And so they're not looking for genius, they're looking for stamina. No doubt about it. If there's one word that pops out of this whole experience, it is stamina. At the end of it, you can be tired, but you cannot afford to be tired in between. Fine, and they were definitely testing whether people got burnt out during the course of this exam. So give a challenging passage which is dry, give reasonable questions but give long-winded choices, make people read and read and read and read till their eyes bleed for 40 minutes, then yank them out and say put three possibilities for LRDI, and then make them solve long difficulty equations for quant. Do you have the intellectual stamina to go through this whole thing? So it's more Iron Man and less 100-meter sprint, definitely not magically good football. Right? So it is challenging in its own way. The brain muscle part and building the stamina is super important. Solve and solve and solve unto death. Read and read away to glory. And so don't be reliant on being the person who can identify the cute stuff. Fine. That's me. Fine. So there's lots of cute stuff in the paper. Usually in 22 questions in quant, I find 5-6 questions that I breeze through. I'm super happy because I look at this question and go, this has to be right triangle, that's a circumradius. I can sense the in radius creeping up on me, and I'm very happy. Right? And that happens. And I'm not happy when I have to find and solve and mark an answer as 29 by 6, which I did today. 29 by 9, I think, which I did today, which makes me irritated for some reason. Right? So I cannot be like that. Right? It's not about the cute stuff. Right? These two, we practically say every time, do not quit your job. Do not put all your eggs into this basket. It's a dicey basket to put eggs into. Prepare with a smile, because what else is there? Okay. Lovely. I'm going to take some questions and have a conversation now with folks on our chat channel. I see several questions on which slot was easier or tougher. So let me tell you this. The last 4 years, all of us experts have said one slot is tougher and easier than the other on the day of CAT. And we've said one slot is easier and tougher than the other after the response sheets are out. Almost everybody has got it right after the response sheet is out. Almost everybody has gotten it wrong on the day of CAT. Throughout. And not even like randomness has worked out one way or the other. We've got it wrong. And so it's very, very difficult to say slot 2 was tougher than slot 1 in quant because nobody has really seen both. You're relying on somebody else's judgment for how difficult or easy something was. And it's all in the heat of the moment. We're all doing this 4 hours, 5 hours after we finished the exam, after having had 2 dodged conversations with a couple of people. Fine. So I'm not going to get into that malarkey of slot 2 verbal was tougher, slot 3 quant was tougher, slot 1 LRDI was tougher. We get it wrong typically. Once the response sheets are out, the data jumps out, and we clearly know which way normalization will go. And once we know that, it becomes much easier to process. And so I'm not going to get into that. And so don't ask me questions on which slot quant or LRDI or verbal was easier. I've spoken to everybody. I've spoken to people who have done slot 1, 2, 3. I have my preconceptions about what might have been tougher in each section. I'm waiting for the data to bear it out. My gut feel is the data won't bear it out. When will we get to see the solutions? We do the solutions only after the explanation, the answer keys are out. Because till then, officially the paper is not out. So we do this session after slot 1, 2, 3 are done. We'll do the solutions after the official paper is out. So for us, the learning objective is primary. So we don't release an answer key till the official thing is done. Old fashioned. ब्रेन रॉट हो गया था DILR से कहता, टेल मी अबाउट इट. मेरा भी एकदम फाइनल था. जब मैं गुस्से में हिंदी में बोलता हूँ तो शब्द ठीक नहीं निकलते हैं, तो मैं थोड़ा बंद हो जाता हूँ. I cannot afford to cuss in some language on YouTube. And so I'll keep my trap shut. And बकवास पेपर था एकदम. Did you write it on PSB Polytechnic? Yes, indeed I did. In PSB Polytechnic, my dear friends who are conducting CAT, PSB Polytechnic Center is pathetic. And so I'm not blaming them. It's a polytechnic college in the middle of nowhere. It's their keyboards and mouse were bought maybe a decade ago. And so finally I thought I would give feedback saying the mouse is not working properly. I had to literally hit the keyboard because the keyboard is not working properly. To write, mouse is not working properly. It was an absolute bakwas experience. And sometimes I feel like they should standardize this, right? Somebody's writing in PSB Polytechnic and somebody else is writing in Ion Digital, which is like super sanitized, wonderful. This was 2-foot table. I was standing like this and typing. It was bakwas infrastructure. I was super relieved that I was not writing it competitively. My screen had pen marks on it. Oh, that must have been interesting. Gonna curse the IMK question set. Oh, I'm ahead of you, my friend. I'm ahead of you. I've been cursing them non-stop. My family literally told me, you get out of here, you're cursing too much. You can create a better paper than they do. We usually don't brag, but 100%, I think not just us, a bunch of guys who were there could have done this better. This is a nonsense. Oh, calculator was glitching. My calculator was glitching. I did, my mouse was bad. I did 798 into 9 or 8 or something like that. 798 into 9, my answer was 700 and something. ये तो हो नहीं सकता. Turns out that my 798, only 78 is registered. And so now I'm very worried. I don't know where the mouse is. You have to stamp on the mouse. This I discovered kind of halfway into quant. God knows how my LRDI has gone. In fact, I don't know whether my answer key is registered, right? So you're marking something, or you're writing an answer as 20. I don't know whether the zero sits there. Nonsense. I'm super glad that I didn't write this exam with a lot at stake. I feel for you guys, but it's from kind of derivative feeling. Invigilator was watching India versus South Africa sitting beside me. What a बकवास match. At least World Cup final देखो तो भी ठीक है. मैं भी कुछ देख लेता. LRDI के instant. What is the point of watching India versus South Africa inconsequential one-day match? I think you guys should all complain. Find some place. Watching cricket match there and all is bakwas. Some centers were really bad. Which DLR sets? Oh, I'm not talking about DLR sets. I didn't even see two of them. Yeah, I heard this system crash between Quant and LRDI, and then on this, please send a message. Please condemn this as clearly as possible. Please raise your voices. Please tell them. I think TCS has done a wonderful job in putting this together, but they've become too freaking cost conscious and too freaking complacent. The tightness in their exam execution of 5 years ago is not there. 5 years ago, it used to be a flawless experience. I'm not talking about the paper. I'm talking about the tech and infra and all that. It used to be beautiful. Every year, in the last 5 years, I've seen it falling. They're cutting corners here and there. Their pens are worse. Their classrooms have become smaller. Their computer, I was literally sitting on a 2.5 foot table, which is all right, but more than 1 foot went off for the CPU thing. So I don't know why they should find places like this to conduct the exam at. My slot was slot 1. Those of you interested in CAT 2026 preparation plan, we'll do a series of sessions on that. Maybe give this a week for people to digest their scores. If I start doing 2026 preparation plan videos on YouTube, people will come back and throw stones at it. And so I'm not doing that. We'll take in 2025, digest it. I'm not happy with the paper at all. I need to nearly get. I know I'm academically cursing in the sense that I don't have vested interest stake in this. I'm doing it for the curiosity of it. But I feel bad that the bar for a high quality exam is not that high in India. And so I had a series of discussions with a bunch of guys. I thought if one institution takes it up, instead of it just being like a musical chairs passing the parcel thing between IIM Ahmedabad and Bangalore and Calcutta and Lucknow and Kozhikode, if one group took it, maybe the experience and learning with it will play a role. But there is an agency like that, which is the NTA. And this paper would have been better than anything NTA could have come up with. That's another very different level ka dicey institution. So I think India should take these exams seriously. So many people have their entire lives anchored around clearing an exam. Instead of saying why India is such a crappy country, इतना exam को क्यों seriousness देते हो? हम नहीं दे रहे भाई, system दे रहा है. नौकरी मिल रही है, seats मिल रही हैं. We have to take it seriously because this is our entry into that world. So it's not like by choice people are willingly taking exams seriously. This is the hand we have been dealt and we are dealing with it. किसको 10-10 घंटे पढ़ने का मन करता है, मतलब मन करता है, but not with competitive stress in mind. So we should embrace the idea that competitive exams are very much a part of our landscape. Instead of treating it as one second-class citizen idea. It's a brilliant idea. We should say, yeah, good, competitive exams, preparing for them shapes you, signs you up, it makes you better, sharper, more articulate, more enumerate, what's not to like. I like that. Let's accept that premise and move from there instead of dissing the idea of competitive exam. But the damned competitive exams have to be conducted much better. There should be more transparency about what are we testing. There should be one sample paper. Give one mock paper fully. Give 2 mock papers and say, we are going to give you a paper broadly like this. We've set 10 papers. We have 2 sets of 3 each in order to make sure that nothing gets leaked. We randomly selected 2 of them. They're available as mocks. Take this and have a clear idea that your paper is going to be something like this. Best wishes. Why does India not treat its exam like this? We guys do 30 mocks a year. And even if we make mistakes, we come back and say, hey, we got that wrong, and we carry on. And so they can do 6, they can do 8, and release 2, and say, look, this is how it will be. This whole thing of, oh, the paper will be a surprise, you'll have to react to it, is all nonsense. It is not letting yourself be held to a high standard of communicating what to expect. None of these institutes want to take responsibility about what they stand for and what the broad contours of the exam will be. They want to have the freedom to just wing it. And then they'll say, you have to learn to handle uncertainty, bakwas. And I really, dearly wish the bar for setting a good paper, which is consistent, and elegant and beautiful, it's intangible X factor ke saath, be much higher than it. Because some of the questions that are there in our papers are brilliant. So I think there are enough guys who have it in them in spades to come up with beautiful questions. I've seen questions from, there are sources where you can find questions for several other exams, foreign exams. And I think our exam quality, in terms of quality of individual questions across the space, is high. It is in our transparency and communication and consistency and being the overall paper bar high. That's wrong. If you take the last 200 questions in quant, there'll be 30 or 40 that are beautiful. And then there are 30 or 40 that have no business being in that paper. And साथ में हम दोनों को घुसा देंगे. The bar for saying, look, I will not have this. I will not have this. Give me 30 more like that. Somebody has to fret. The response sheet should be out in 3-4 days time. Longer than that. Slot-wise cut-off, pata nahi hai. It's almost like we pick a number from the hat. And so there's not much sanctity to this. Just because I am saying this or any other expert is saying this, there's not much value to this 90th percentile thing. And so we are more or less picking numbers from the hat and saying, hey, this should be it. And so be wary of that. CAT should be twice a year, yeah. I would want it to be 4 times a year. Or at least twice a year. So you've de-emphasized CAT. You've said, look, this is not the only metric. Your class 10, class 12 profile, work experience, how you can, your undergraduate score, all of those matter. Nice. So go all the way and say the CAT score is one thing. You can apply with your number score or with your May score. Yeah, that works magically. Voice is echoing. Okay, I don't know why it is echoing. I think I'm making a deep point, so it is echoing. Let me see if I can simplify this. Hello. I hope this is clear. What is the benefit of having IM A, B, C if you people make a better paper than them? What do you mean, you people? Fine. So, see, I think I'm annoyed. I'm annoyed at how bad this was. If I had to pass a very harsh judgment, I'd say IMK should be kept far away from this. There's a certain lack of quality in this paper. It's bleeding obvious, which was not there the last 3-4 years. They do get it right, but this year was bad. And this is not from a level of difficulty. I'm not saying this year was tougher. I'm just saying this year was bad. And TCS quality has dipped. You guys were conducting the exam, their quality has dipped. Please provide tips for PI. Aaj nahi yaar. Maybe give me at least a week. We'll process all this. We'll think about XAT, then we'll go to PI. The first of personal interviews are going to be at least 2.5 months away. As much as you would want a head start, if you want a head start on preparing, read newspapers diligently, consciously, relentlessly. John Josephy passing through in front of IMK in front after finishing in Kozhikode. I hope you looked at them and dissed them and said, "Kya kar diya tum logon ne?" Shreya Joshi, I need to come out of paper trauma first. Yeah. I'll get over it soon. Abhijit Pandey, I should set the paper. I'm all for it. They don't call me. I think there are mechanisms where alumni can be involved in giving feedback. Alumni very frequently feature in panels and all that. I have been invited on 1 or 2 occasions, but that's also probably because they have not worried enough to check the background. So I have consistently replied to them. I've said to several of them saying, look, I can't do this because there's a conflict of interest. I cannot do this and that, and I don't do that and not do this. With wo system mein to I can't survive. It's a quasi-government system. Or if you're at 24 LP and all, go for IM, ABCL, probably even IK you should think about. Especially K, they can set a paper like this. Those of you who are thinking about next year because this year didn't do well, if you're prepared long and hard for this year, process this for a week, 10 days. Utna bhi jaldi nahi hai next year ke liye plan karne ke liye. Hustle for XAT for sure. You've done this whole drill. Sometimes people who say on the day of CAT 2025, prepared for 6 months, it's not enough. Here I come for 2026. There's a burnout risk. It happens. So you will not. I'm usually a big fan of saying start as soon as possible, but not this time. If you had an emotionally draining experience, you need to give your mind some time to process it. You need to wait for the answer key to come. You need to hustle for XAT. You need to give that a full-fledged go. Then December end, Jan first week, you can say, hey, let me take stock. Do I want to do this all over again? How am I going to do it differently? Where did I go wrong? Or was it just luck? Am I going to do the same things, or am I going to do them in a different order or slightly different things? What is my plan? Because I know what to expect. And then process it after that. So give your mind some more time to process. Don't, if you have taken CAT 2025 for fun, 26 your real thing, then you can start tomorrow. Then you're not emotionally spent. You just had this as an experience, you know what the game is, now you can plan for the game. Then you can start today, tomorrow. If you spent time, emotional energy invested into 2025, don't start today. थोड़ा वक्त भाई, ठीक है चल एक हफ्ता जाने दो, 2 हफ्ता जाने दो, 1 महीना जाने दो, it's okay. Then come back and definitely hustle for XAT and then come back for this. Right? Broad tips: read. Learn from fundas. Build stamina for reading and solving. They're definitely saying, I want to see you hang in there for reading, hang in there for solving. They're definitely saying that. Brute force करा के मतलब बात लगा दिया हमारा. And so last 3-4 days I've been watching. My daughter has taken to मुन्ना भाई MBBS and लगे रहो मुन्ना भाई. तो अपन जो भी बोलता है बहुत विनम्रता के साथ बोलता है. DILR went wrong again and again. Some people are super confident that some people are crying in the center. It happens. You have to pick yourself up and have a go again. Non-engineer का कुछ बात नहीं है इसमें. I don't think this was an engineering bias, non-engineering thing. They definitely want mathematical solving stamina. My mouse didn't work half the time. I had the same trouble. Painful center. 3 attempted, 3 correct. You could clear all cutoffs at 80th percentile. 90th catch on the fence. DLR sets language was vague, yeah. Yeah. The language was not tight. The words could have been better. Answer key typically is out in a week, not longer than that. Total 92 would be fantastic. We put 95 for 99.5 percentile, so 92 should be thereabouts. It should be fantastic. Regarding normalization, I'm not going there. I have no idea. This I have slight idea. That I have no idea. Thank you, Tapendra Sanel. Fine. So, preparation ke ज़्यादा calmness help किया. Definitely yes. This paper called for that. Phantom busy 100 to 105 should be fabulous. It should be north of 99.5, hopefully 99.7, 99.8, which should open all doors. Pritam Gargi, if your hit rate is good, that could lead to a very interestingly good score. How many did I attempt in LRDI? So I tanked, absolutely tanked. I did only one set, and so I panicked and I did a lot of data and guessed and half figured out and told myself with this choices that would have what they would have thought about and all that. There was one question which said, how many possible answers are there? For that set I had got only one answer. So there, how many answers were there told me that maybe I missed one completely. So I marked 2. Because I couldn't see 3 happening, so I marked 2. Maybe there were 3 possible, I have no idea, but I put 2. And so I took chances like this. I only attempted one set, honestly, and the DI set, finally I attempted that. Very honestly, it was right up my alley. I answered 2 questions very happily, third one very happily, and the last one was, what is the trade deficit between India and UK? I got the answer as 1.6. The answer choices were 10, 15, 20, 25. And so, no, I know that answer is gone. Now I'm worried about what I answered in the remaining. So it was absolutely. So I said, look, check it, yeah, last question, and mark it and get out of the place. Spider chat 1, yes. This is Sammy Sam. Yeah, Spider chat 1. Expected marks or koi nahi janta hai. There's no such thing as expected marks and all. I thought I was very happy at the end of verbal. I was irritated because the paper was boring, but I thought, look, I had done well. So I'm hoping that my verbal bails me out, which it usually does not. I know my LRDI will absolutely tank. Quant, even if I whine, I usually score pretty well. I've done quant for 25 years, 30 years, from the time of my JE preparation through my CAT preparation through my 15, 20 years of teaching. So quant, my baseline is pretty good. So quant, I typically will not get killed in quant. So I know my 90% of my marks will come from only 2 sections that I know. I felt that the spider chart one was straightforward. It's just that I messed up. I thought I got 2 questions right. I was rocking. The third one was kind of okay, I hit it. Fourth one, I solved and got an answer, and there was not there in any of the choices. And that made me immediately worried that my first 3 could be wrong. In which case, my LRDI will go for a toss. It's all right. I'll live, but which is why I don't know about that at all. Incoming and outgoing call, pata nahi mere ko. Somebody else has answered that question. Work on extremes help me solve that author set. Thank you. Lovely. PSB Polytechnic ke baare mein, don't even talk. Let's complain to them as much as possible. I'm not blaming them. I think TCS should be worried. Shivraj Singh, I had the same answer, 16.66 and 15. The answer I got was 1.67, but it was not there. I hope you're right, Shivraj Singh, in which case I don't care about that answer. I hope my other 2-3 questions are right. "15 questions in quant will definitely should take you beyond around the 90th percentile range. I mean 15 marks in quant, not 15 questions. 15 questions will make you a rock star. Super guys, good catching up with all of you. Best wishes. This exam usually leaves several of us with a bad feeling on the day. There's another bad feeling when this expected mark sheets and your response sheet is released. And typical of competitive exams, it creates more people who are unhappy than those who are really happy on the day of results as well. So it's a particularly exciting day, but a depressing day for us teachers. And we have more horror stories and bad news stories than good news stories. And we get perked up by the good news stories, but we deal with the bad news stories as well, very often. So let me tell you something, simple things. It's not going to feel as bad tomorrow as it does today. A week from now, it will feel much better. Your body will respond to it. If you've prepared something, it'll hold you in good stead. You've learned to hustle, that'll pay off. And none of these will matter in 4 years' time. And so, all the best. Keep your head up, keep your chin up. Prepare for the next one, for XAT, with vim and vigor. Those of you who are saying, look, I don't need to rush in to do an MBA, I'm just in my first year of working or my final year of college, then jump in and say, this was a good experience, I know what this game is, 2026, here I come. And so don't throw in the towel, don't take decisions on the day where you've been smacked around. And all of us feel distressed and irritated on the day when something has happened. You need time to process it. And this experience is irritating frequently, but weirdly, over the cycle, you're richer for having prepared for this exam, 100%. There's no doubt about that in my mind. I just wish things were a little smoother, little more standardized, little higher quality from the powers that run this exam. But otherwise, preparing for it is fine, completely fine. And so we will be around. Once the response sheets are out, we will be able to upload your response sheets and answer, get your scores. We will continue to not share any email addresses and phone numbers, nor take any email addresses and phone numbers. If I take email address and phone number, I feel worried that at some point of time we'll be tempted to abuse them. We won't take email addresses and phone numbers from anybody. We will not share whatever we have with anybody. We'll have an open website where you can come and learn and come and see your response sheets. At the earliest possible time, we'll put solutions out. We are a teaching place first and foremost. Then comes assessment, ranking, slating, percentile, prediction, all of that. And so if questions come out, as quickly as possible we'll do. I'm already dreading solving all those horrendously boring quant questions, but solve it I shall. And that we will do. So look forward to seeing all of you. We'll do further sessions on what to do on the day of the response sheet, on the day results come, and what to do for PI and what to do for 2026. They're going to be here. We will keep conversing with all of you. Many thanks for being such lovely company. We have received several wonderful comments on YouTube and on WhatsApp and email, and people take time out and say, this thing that I learned from you guys was super useful. And I must tell you, we live for those days when we hear those comments and those emails or WhatsApps. It absolutely makes our day, week, month. We get beaten up on this emotional ride as much as you guys do, because it's not personal from an individual point of view, but it's personal from the point of view of our students. So we are emotionally invested in the performance of our students than probably our own performance. But there's so many of them, and we feel like we are a foot soldier in their fight, not the leading actor, but still, we are a foot soldier in so many people's fights that it makes us feel good or bad, like you guys do. So we need those comments and feedback to help us keep our chin up. We will do all the solutions as usual. We will keep it open. We'll keep it available. We'll not share email addresses, phone numbers. We don't do that. So do jump in and send in your thoughts, comments, everything. Keep your chin up. This is, at the end of it all, this is just an exam. 120 minutes do not get to determine what you do in your life. Absolutely not. I'm a big fan of India's competitive exam market for what it can do to you in the preparation grind. I'm not at all a fan of the social pressure and the pressure cooker setup for how exam scores are perceived by the people. I'm not a fan of the 2-hour time span based exam thing. And I'm saying this as a certified success story of Indian competitive exam market. And so, one classic example of someone who's thrived in competitive exam and had that as the biggest claim to any success in life. Fine. So, and I'm telling you, I hate the idea that people are measured as marked as winners and losers based on one competitive exam. I don't like that. But the preparation, super useful. Right. So, if I had to do it all over again, I would sign up for the preparations that I did for all my competitive exams, and I would strongly recommend that several people sign up for the ride, with the caveat that look, some days it's yours, some days it's not yours. That's not going to fall your way. It's still all right. Right. Super guys. Look forward to catching up with all of you. Please keep those comments and feedbacks and thoughts and ideas flowing. Feel free to rant about IIM Kozhikode and the way they've gone about this. And wake up and hustle for XAT and CAT 2026 as quickly as possible. Best wishes, guys. Thank you.